Maya Patel's fingers danced across the quantum diagnostic interface, her movements a blur even to the Arcturian scientists, who prided themselves on their superior temporal perception. The research station's primary reactor was experiencing cascading failures across multiple dimensions, and she was the only one who could process the quantum fluctuations fast enough to prevent a catastrophe. "Impossible," muttered Chief Scientist Zex 427, his crystalline form pulsing with waves of deep purple anxiety. No organic being should be able to track quantum state changes at that speed. Maya ignored the comment, her mind fully immersed in the quantum data stream. Where the Arcturians saw chaos, she perceived patterns. Beautiful, intricate fractals of cause and effects spanning multiple probability states. Her human brain, evolved to process vast amounts of sensory data in parallel, was perfectly suited for this task, even if no one had realized it until now. The reactor's quantum matrix had begun to destabilize 6 hours ago, threatening to tear apart the fabric of space-time around the station. The Arcturians, despite their advanced technology and profound understanding of quantum mechanics, were too methodical in their approach. They could comprehend the underlying mathematics perfectly, but their neural architecture required them to process each quantum state sequentially. Humans, as it turned out, had an unexpected advantage. Their brains, shaped by millions of years of evolution to spot predators in complex visual environments and predict the trajectories of prey, could process multiple probability states simultaneously. Where an Arcturian saw individual quantum threads that needed to be carefully analyzed one at a time, Maya saw a tapestry of interconnected possibilities. "Quantum coherence at 30% and falling," announced the station's eye. "Critical failure predicted in 15 minutes." Maya's consciousness expanded further into the quantum interface. Her breathing slowed as her neural patterns synchronized with the reactor's quantum fluctuations. She had discovered this ability by accident 3 months into her assignment as the station's emergency systems specialist. During a routine maintenance check, she had noticed patterns in the quantum noise that the Arcturians dismissed as random fluctuations. "The human's neural activity is exceeding safe parameters," warned Medical Officer Yix 291. "We should pull her out before she experiences cognitive collapse." "No," Maya managed to say through gritted teeth. "I can see it. The pattern. It's not random. The reactor isn't failing. It's evolving." The Arcturians' crystalline forms flickered with dismissive frequencies. Evolution was a slow, methodical process that took generations. The quantum realm operated on scales so fast that even their advanced minds struggled to comprehend them. The idea that someone could observe quantum evolution in real time was absurd. But Maya could see it. The reactor's quantum matrix wasn't deteriorating. It was reorganizing itself into a more stable configuration. The Arcturians' attempts to force it back to its original state were actually causing the problems. Her fingers moved faster, no longer trying to prevent the changes, but instead guiding them, like a surfer riding a wave. "Quantum coherence at 20%. The AI updated. Critical failure in 10 minutes. Trust me," Maya said, her voice steady despite the strain. "Stop the containment protocols. The reactor needs to complete its transformation." "Preposterous," Zex 427 declared. "The containment protocols are all that's preventing a complete quantum collapse." Maya's mind raced. She needed to explain this in terms the Arcturians could understand. "Your species created this reactor using sequential quantum engineering, building it state by state. But quantum systems in nature don't develop that way. They evolve through parallel exploration of multiple probability states simultaneously. The reactor is trying to find a more natural configuration." She could sense the Arcturians processing her words, their crystalline neural networks methodically analyzing each component of her statement. But they were running out of time. "Quantum coherence at 15%. Critical failure in 5 minutes." Maya made a decision. Her fingers flew across the interface, initiating an override of the containment protocols. The Arcturians' crystalline forms flashed with alarm frequencies, but their methodical decision-making processes were too slow to stop her. Containment protocols disengaged. The AI announced, "Warning. Quantum matrix reconfiguration in progress." The reactor's quantum states began shifting rapidly, exploring countless configurations simultaneously. To the Arcturians, it would appear as chaos, but Maya could see the underlying pattern. The quantum matrix was moving toward a state of natural equilibrium, like water flowing downhill. Quantum coherence at 40% and rising, the AI reported, a note of surprise in its artificial voice. Quantum matrix stabilizing. Maya guided the final phase of the transformation, her consciousness dancing with the quantum possibilities. When it was done, she stepped back from the interface, her legs shaky, but her mind clear. Quantum coherence at 98%, the AI confirmed. Reactor efficiency increased by 300%. The Arcturians stood in stunned silence, their crystalline forms cycling through colors of disbelief, amazement, and something Maya had never seen before. Respect. How? Zex 427 finally asked. How did you know? Maya wiped the sweat from her forehead, choosing her words carefully. Humans evolved to process massive amounts of sensory data in parallel. We don't see individual trees. We see forests. We don't hear individual notes. We hear music. And apparently, we don't see individual quantum states. We see quantum patterns. But our brains are far more advanced than human neural architecture. Yix 291 objected. We can process quantum mathematics that would take human computers years to calculate. True, Maya agreed. But sometimes the ability to see the big picture is more important than being able to analyze every detail. Humans may not be able to calculate quantum states as precisely as Arcturians, but we can perceive quantum patterns intuitively. The implications of this discovery began to sink in. The Arcturians had been the undisputed masters of quantum engineering for millennia. The idea that humans, a species that had achieved faster-than-light travel less than a century ago, might have an innate ability they lacked was revolutionary. This will need to be studied. Zex 427 declared, his crystalline form now pulsing with excited frequencies. If what you say is true, it could revolutionize our understanding of quantum engineering. Maya nodded, already anticipating the battery of tests and experiments that would follow. But she also recognized something more significant, a shift in how the Arcturians perceived humanity. They had accepted humans as useful additions to their research teams, capable of handling emergency situations with their quick reaction times. But now they were beginning to understand that human consciousness itself might be something unique in the galaxy. As she looked at the quantum interface, still displaying the beautiful patterns of the transformed reactor, Maya wondered what other human abilities might prove valuable in ways no one had imagined. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, and perhaps humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their intelligence, but their unique way of perceiving the universe itself. The First Contact Protocol had never considered this possibility, that humans might see patterns in the quantum realm that other species couldn't perceive. It was just the beginning, Maya knew. The real question was, what other hidden abilities might humans possess that even they hadn't discovered yet? The neural interface. News of Maya's quantum pattern recognition ability spread through the galactic scientific community like a shockwave. Within weeks, the quiet research station had become the center of a scientific revolution. Representatives from dozens of species arrived to study this uniquely human capability, their various forms crowding the station's corridors and labs. Maya stood before the gathered delegation, trying not to fidget as Dr. Zex 427's crystalline form pulsed with excitement frequencies. "The implications are extraordinary," he announced. "Human neural architecture appears capable of processing quantum relationships in ways our most advanced AI systems cannot replicate." A Volari observer, their gas-clouded form swirling with skeptical patterns, spoke next. Yet humans lack the computational precision of even basic quantum computers. How can we be certain this isn't simply random success? Maya suppressed a smile. She'd grown used to the dismissive attitudes of more technologically advanced species. "Would you like a demonstration?" she offered. The chamber's quantum interface activated, filling the space with a complex holographic display of quantum states. To most species present, it would appear as a chaos of shifting probabilities. But to Maya, it was like reading music. "This is a real-time feed from a quantum communications array in the Carina sector," she explained. "There's a pattern of degradation occurring that will cause the array to fail in approximately 6 hours." The Volari's gaseous form rippled with disbelief. "Our predictive models show no such degradation." "Because you're looking at each quantum state individually," Maya replied. "The pattern only becomes apparent when you observe multiple probability states simultaneously." Her fingers danced across the interface, highlighting interconnected threads of quantum probability that even the advanced aliens had missed. "Fascinating," hummed senior researcher X9, a mechanoid whose cybernetic systems were purpose-built for quantum analysis. "But this merely confirms the anomaly. The question remains, how can we utilize this human capability?" That was when Director Lyra, the station's Arcturian administrator, revealed their proposal. Her crystalline form shifted to formal presentation frequencies as she activated a new hologram. "We believe we have developed a solution. The quantum neural interface." The hologram showed a sleek device that would wrap around a human's head like a crown. Maya recognized components of Arcturian quantum sensors mixed with mechanoid neural processors and what appeared to be Volari probability matrices. "By combining our various technologies," Lyra continued, "we can create a direct connection between human neural patterns and quantum systems. This would allow us to study and potentially enhance the human ability to perceive quantum patterns." The chamber erupted in excited discussions, each species communicating in their own way. Maya stood silent, studying the design. She could already see potential problems in the quantum harmonics, places where the interface might create feedback loops with human consciousness. "I'll do it," she said, cutting through the noise. The chamber fell silent. "I'll test the interface." Maya, Zex 427's form, pulsed with concerned frequencies. "The risks are significant," she finished, "but so are the potential benefits. If this works, it could revolutionize quantum engineering across the galaxy." The testing began 2 days later. Maya sat in the center of the primary research lab, surrounded by scanning equipment from a dozen different species. The neural interface felt cool against her skin as technicians made final adjustments. "Remember," Zex 427 instructed, "we will proceed in careful, measured steps. First, we will establish a baseline connection to." Maya's consciousness exploded across quantum space. Where before she could see patterns in quantum data, now she was part of them. Every quantum state in the station's systems became visible simultaneously, a vast web of interconnected possibilities that took her breath away. She could see the quantum fluctuations in the reactor she had stabilized, the delicate quantum entanglements in the communication systems, even the subtle quantum effects in the crystalline neural networks of the Arcturians. "Remarkable," she heard X9 say, their mechanical voice distant. "The interface is operating at 300% of projected efficiency." Maya, Zex 427 called, concern evident in his harmonics. "Your neural patterns are exceeding safety parameters," we shoaled. "Wait," Maya interrupted, her voice steady despite the overwhelming input. "There's something else, something deeper." Through the interface, she could perceive layers of quantum reality that the aliens' instruments couldn't detect. The universe wasn't just filled with quantum possibilities. It was made of them. Every particle, every force, every moment of time existed as part of an infinite web of quantum relationships. And humans, she realized with sudden clarity, had evolved to navigate this quantum web instinctively. It explained so much: human intuition, pattern recognition, even consciousness itself, All were expressions of humanity's natural ability to process quantum relationships. This is unprecedented, Lyra observed, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement. The interface is revealing quantum structures we never knew existed. But Maya was already pushing further, exploring the boundaries of this new perception. She could feel the interface struggling to keep up, its alien components straining to translate human neural patterns into quantum data. Then something went wrong. The quantum patterns began to shift, twisting in ways that defied the laws of physics as the aliens understood them. Maya felt her consciousness stretching across probability space, touching quantum states that shouldn't exist. Emergency shutdown. She heard someone call, but it was too late. The interface had created a feedback loop between her human consciousness and quantum reality itself. She could feel the barriers between possibility and actuality breaking down, threatening to collapse the quantum stability of the entire station. Maya. Zex 427's voice cut through the chaos. You must disconnect. What happened? Lyra asked, her crystalline form cycling through analysis patterns. But Maya knew that a sudden disconnection would be catastrophic. The quantum distortions had to be stabilized first. Drawing on everything she had learned about quantum patterns, she began to guide the chaos toward order. It was like trying to choreograph a dance with infinite partners across infinite dimensions, but where the aliens saw impossible complexity, Maya saw patterns within patterns, a cosmic dance of probability that responded to her consciousness. Slowly, carefully, she brought the quantum fluctuations under control. The interface's power levels stabilized, and the threat of a quantum collapse faded. When Maya finally opened her eyes, the lab was silent. The assembled scientists stared at her with various expressions of awe, fear, and confusion. What happened? Lyra asked, her crystalline form cycling through analysis patterns. The interface worked better than expected, Maya explained, carefully removing the device. But it revealed something none of us were prepared for. Quantum reality isn't just something we can observe or manipulate. It's something we're part of. Humans didn't evolve to ignore quantum effects like most species. We evolved to work with them. Impossible, the Volary observer declared, their gaseous form roiling with disbelief. Quantum effects don't operate on biological scales. They do in human consciousness, Maya countered. We just never had the right tools to perceive it before. The interface didn't just connect me to quantum systems, it showed me how humans naturally interface with quantum reality. The implications were staggering. If Maya was right, humans weren't just good at recognizing quantum patterns, they were quantum patterns, their consciousness naturally operating in ways that the most advanced alien species had spent millennia trying to understand. This changes everything, X9 stated, their cybernetic systems whirring as they processed the data. If human consciousness naturally interfaces with quantum systems, the applications are endless. But Maya was already thinking beyond applications. The interface had shown her something profound about the nature of human consciousness and its place in the universe. The question wasn't just how to use this discovery. It was whether the galaxy was ready for what it meant. As the scientists debated around her, Maya touched the interface one last time, feeling the quantum patterns that now seemed so obvious. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger understanding of reality, and she knew there would be no going back. Time war. The attack came without warning. One moment, the Centauri colony existed. The next, it had never been settled. 12 billion lives weren't ended. They were erased from the timeline itself. Only those with quantum-enhanced perception, like Maya, remembered they had ever existed at all. Maya stood in the station's quantum observatory, watching temporal shock waves ripple across the galaxy. Through her neural interface, now refined after months of careful testing, she could see the damage to space-time itself, wounds in the fabric of reality that leaked probability like blood. Another timeline shift detected, announced the station's eye. The Proxima sector has experienced temporal reorganization. Historical variants detected extending back approximately 300 years. They're getting bolder, observed X9, their cybernetic systems struggling to process the temporal anomalies. Each attack affects a larger portion of the timeline. Maya nodded, her enhanced perception, tracking the cascade of changes spreading through probability space. The mysterious attackers, whom they dubbed the chronivores, were systematically erasing civilizations from history. Traditional defenses were useless against an enemy that could simply make them never exist. We've confirmed the pattern, Zex 427 reported, his crystalline form dark with worry frequencies. They're targeting quantum-sensitive species first. The Volari collective in the Carina sector vanished yesterday, or rather, never evolved past simple gas clouds. Maya understood the strategy. The chronivores were eliminating species that might detect their temporal manipulations, preparing for something bigger. But they hadn't anticipated humans, a species whose natural quantum sensitivity had gone unnoticed until recently. Director Lyra has called an emergency council, X9 announced. All species with temporal perception capabilities are gathering to discuss countermeasures. The council chamber was crowded with representatives from surviving quantum-sensitive species. Maya noticed there were fewer than last time, gaps where entire civilizations had been erased from existence. Through her interface, she could see quantum echoes of their presence, probability ghosts of timelines that no longer existed. Traditional temporal mechanics have failed, Lyra began, her crystalline form projecting authority frequencies. Our attempts to stabilize the timeline through conventional means have proven ineffective. The chronivores operate on quantum principles we cannot comprehend. Cannot comprehend through sequential analysis, Maya corrected. All eyes turned to her. We've been treating this as a temporal engineering problem, trying to counter each timeline modification individually. But the chronivores aren't changing individual moments in time. They're altering quantum probability patterns across entire historical spans. She stepped to the center of the chamber, activating a holographic display of the temporal attacks. To most observers, it would appear as chaos, random points of temporal disruption. But Maya, with her human ability to process multiple quantum states simultaneously, saw the larger pattern. "Look," she said, her fingers dancing through the hologram. They're not just erasing timelines, they're rewriting quantum probability itself. Each attack creates a cascade effect that makes their chosen outcome the only possible result. They're not changing history, they're changing the nature of causality. The chamber erupted in discussions, each species trying to grasp the implications. Maya continued, her voice cutting through the noise. But there's a weakness in their approach. By operating on such a fundamental level, they're leaving traces in quantum probability space, patterns that human consciousness can naturally detect. "How does this help us?" asked a mechanoid observer. "Even if we can detect their methods, we cannot prevent changes to our own historical continuity." Maya smiled. "We don't have to prevent them. We just have to remember them." She activated her neural interface, connecting directly to the station's quantum systems. The holographic display shifted, showing not just the current timeline but countless probability threads, paths that reality could have taken, quantum possibilities that had been forcibly collapsed by the chronivores. "Human consciousness naturally exists across multiple quantum states," she explained. "It's why we can recognize patterns in quantum data that other species process sequentially. When the chronivores alter probability, they're not just changing events, they're changing the quantum structure of space-time itself. But human minds retain quantum superposition even after probability collapse. We remember possibilities that no longer exist." "Impossible," declared an Arcturian scientist. "Quantum superposition cannot be maintained in macro-scale biological systems, unless those systems evolved specifically to process quantum information," Maya countered. "Humans developed consciousness in a universe of infinite possibilities. Our minds don't just observe quantum states, they exist in them. The chronivores can erase events from timeline, but they can't erase them from human memory, because we naturally exist across multiple quantum states simultaneously. Understanding dawned across the assembled beings. If human consciousness could maintain awareness across probability space, they might be able to preserve information through temporal changes. More importantly, they might be able to predict where the chronivores would strike next. There's more, Maya continued, her interface showing new patterns in the quantum data. The chronivores aren't just erasing civilizations, they're harvesting probability itself. Each temporal attack increases quantum entropy in the affected region. They're consuming possible futures, stealing potential from the universe itself. The implications were staggering. The chronivores weren't just reshaping history. They were feeding on the quantum possibility space that made free will possible. Each attack reduced the number of potential futures available to the galaxy. We need to act now, Maya declared. Every temporal attack makes their position stronger and reduces our options for counterattack. But humans can track their probability signatures, predict their movements through quantum space. With the neural interface technology, we can even resist their temporal alterations. What are you suggesting? Lyra asked, her crystalline form shifting to battle-ready frequencies. We fight fire with fire, Maya answered. We use human quantum consciousness, amplified by the neural interface, to track the chronivores through probability space. Then we do what humans do best. We adapt. We create new possibilities faster than they can consume them. The chamber fell silent as the assembled species considered her words. They had built their civilizations on careful planning and sequential progress. The idea of deliberately introducing quantum uncertainty, of fighting across probability itself, went against everything they believed in. But they were running out of options. Another temporal shockwave rolled through the station. Somewhere, another civilization had just been erased from history. Maya felt it through her interface, the quantum patterns shifting as reality rewrote itself. We don't have time for debate, she said, watching probability threads unravel across the galaxy. The chronivores are counting on us to be methodical, to analyze and plan while they consume our possible futures one by one. But humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence. It's our ability to embrace uncertainty, to thrive in chaos. Through her interface, Maya could see the quantum patterns of the future splitting into countless possibilities. The Time War was about to begin, and humanity's unique relationship with quantum reality might be the galaxy's only hope for survival. The pattern recognition. The quantum defense network hummed with activity as Maya coordinated humanity's response to the chronivore threat. Thousands of humans, each equipped with neural interfaces, monitored probability space across the galaxy. They had become temporal lighthouses, their consciousness anchoring points of stability in an increasingly chaotic quantum sea. But it wasn't enough. For every timeline they managed to protect, the chronivores erased 3 more. Maya could feel the weight of lost possibilities, the steadily diminishing space of quantum probability that remained. The universe was becoming simpler, more deterministic, and that terrified her more than any conventional weapon could. Status report, Director Lyra requested, her crystalline form radiating command frequencies that cut through the quantum noise of the command center. Maya gestured at the holographic display showing the latest temporal attack patterns. We've managed to preserve key strategic positions by maintaining quantum superposition through human observers. But the chronivores are adapting. They're targeting the probability spaces between our defensive positions, creating zones of collapsed quantum states that we can't recover. Through her enhanced interface, Maya could see the true scope of the damage. The galaxy was becoming a patchwork of preserved timelines surrounded by vast dead zones, where quantum probability had been consumed entirely. In those regions, cause and effect were locked into single, unchangeable patterns. An interesting strategy, noted X9, their cybernetic systems processing the tactical implications. They're isolating our positions in probability space, cutting off potential futures one section at a time. Maya nodded, but something about the pattern nagged at her consciousness. She'd been studying the chronivores' attacks for weeks now, and there was something familiar about their methodology. It reminded her of. Her eyes widened as the realization hit. "They're not attacking," she whispered. "They're thinking." The command center fell silent. Maya's fingers flew across the quantum interface, highlighting patterns that suddenly seemed obvious. "Look at the structure of their temporal attacks. The way they collapse quantum states isn't random. It's systematic, like neural pruning. They're simplifying quantum probability the same way a brain simplifies sensory input to create coherent thoughts." "Impossible," an Arcturian scientist objected. "Consciousness cannot operate on a galactic scale." "Why not?" Maya challenged. "We already know that consciousness interacts with quantum probability. Humans proved that. What if the chronivores are a form of consciousness that evolved to operate directly in probability space? They're not consuming possibilities. They're processing them." She manipulated the display, showing the pattern of temporal attacks from a new perspective. "See how each zone of collapsed probability connects to others. It's like a neural network, but instead of electrochemical signals, it processes quantum states. The chronivores aren't destroying the galaxy. They're trying to think through it." If this is true, Lyra's form pulsed with concerned frequencies, then our defensive strategy is fundamentally flawed. We're not fighting an invasion. We're disrupting a thought process. And that thought process is becoming more focused, Maya added grimly. Through her interface, she could see new patterns forming in the quantum data. "They're learning, adapting to our presence. Each time we preserve a timeline, they adjust their processing to work around it. It's like we're noise in their consciousness, and they're learning to filter us out." X9's cybernetic systems weird as they process the implications. This explains why they targeted quantum-sensitive species first. Other forms of consciousness would interfere with their thought patterns. Maya went further, her mind racing ahead as she followed the logical progression. "But humans are different. Our consciousness naturally exists across multiple quantum states. We're not just noise in their system. We're a competing form of thought." She brought up new data, showing the interaction between human quantum observers and chronivore probability collapse. "Look at what happens when our consciousness interfaces with their probability processing. We're not just preserving timelines. We're introducing new quantum possibilities. We're forcing their thought process to become more complex." "To what end?" Lyra asked, her crystalline form shifting through analysis patterns. "Even if we can disrupt their cognitive processes, they still maintain overwhelming control of probability space." Maya stared at the quantum patterns, letting her mind expand through the interface to grasp the larger picture. Something about the chronivores' behavior didn't fit their hypothesis. If they were truly just another form of consciousness, why attack now? Why reveal themselves after countless millennia of quantum evolution? Unless they're scared, she realized, the pieces finally falling into place. They detected our quantum neural interfaces and recognize what we represent. Humans aren't just another quantum-sensitive species. We're a new form of consciousness emerging into probability space. We're competition. The implications stunned the assembled aliens. Maya continued, her voice growing stronger as she followed the pattern to its logical conclusion. "The chronivores evolved to process quantum probability directly, but they're limited by their nature. They can only simplify, reduce possibilities to create coherent thoughts. But human consciousness does the opposite. We generate new possibilities, create quantum probability where none existed before." "Imagination," X9 said suddenly, their mechanical voice carrying an unusual note of wonder. "Human consciousness doesn't just process quantum probability. It creates it through imaginative thought." "Exactly," Maya confirmed. "Every time a human imagines a possibility, we're actually generating new quantum states. Our neural interfaces just let us do it more directly. We're not just fighting the chronivores, we're introducing chaos into their ordered system of thought." She manipulated the quantum display one more time, showing the gradual but unmistakable impact of human quantum observation on probability space. where the chronivores collapsed possibility into simple patterns, human consciousness was creating new branches of probability, new potential futures that hadn't existed before. This isn't a war, Maya declared. It's evolution. Two forms of consciousness competing to shape the quantum nature of reality itself. The chronivores want to simplify the universe into predictable patterns, but humanity's gift is the ability to make it more complex. The command center erupted in discussion as the assembled species grappled with this revelation. But Maya was already thinking ahead, seeing patterns within patterns. If she was right about the nature of the conflict, then traditional military strategy was useless. They needed a new approach, one that would use humanity's unique relationship with quantum probability, not just to resist the chronivores, but to communicate with them. Through her interface, she could see probability threads stretching into the future, branching and recombining in endless patterns. The real question wasn't how to fight the chronivores. It was how to show them that complexity and simplicity, chaos and order, could coexist in the quantum dance of consciousness. Synchronicity. Maya stood alone in the quantum observatory. Her consciousness expanded through the neural interface to encompass the galactic probability field. Around her, the combined quantum processing power of the research station hummed as it supported her enhanced perception. This was either going to be first contact on a scale no one had imagined possible, or the end of free will in the galaxy. "Are you certain about this?" Zex 427 asked, his crystalline form vibrating with concerned frequencies. The power requirements alone could collapse the station's quantum matrix. "No choice," Maya replied, her voice distant as she prepared herself. "The chronivores are converging on this sector. If we don't establish communication now, we'll lose our last chance to end this peacefully." Through her enhanced perception, she could see them approaching. Vast patterns of collapsed probability, spreading through space-time like waves of crystallized certainty. The chronivores had detected her quantum broadcast and were responding, drawn to this unprecedented concentration of human consciousness like moths to a flame. All systems at maximum capacity, X9 reported, their cybernetic systems interfacing directly with the station's quantum processors. Probability field stabilized. Ready to begin consciousness expansion on your mark. Maya took a deep breath, centering herself in the quantum flow. The enhanced neural interface felt different now, more like a natural extension of her mind than an alien device. She had come to understand that technology wasn't just a tool. It was a way to amplify humanity's innate abilities, to give form to potentials that had always existed within human consciousness. "Beginning quantum consciousness expansion," she announced. "Maintain probability field integrity at all costs." The universe exploded in her mind. Through the amplified interface, Maya's consciousness expanded beyond anything humans had experienced before. She could see every quantum possibility in the local galaxy simultaneously, not just what was, but what could be, what had been, what might never be. The patterns of probability stretched out before her like an infinite tapestry of potential. And there, in the quantum void between possibilities, she felt them. The chronivores' consciousness pressed against her expanded awareness, like an ocean of frozen time, vast and alien, and incomprehensibly ancient. In te or fe or ins, they communicated, not in words, but in patterns of collapsed probability. Patiurin disruption, chaos, three teens order. Maya held her ground in probability space, maintaining the delicate balance between her expanded consciousness and the station's quantum support systems. She replied not with words but with patterns of her own, showing them the beauty of human imagination, the endless creativity that spawned new possibilities. Dangerous, the chronivores responded. Unpredictable, must be simplified. They pressed harder against her quantum barrier, trying to collapse the probability field she maintained. Maya felt the station's systems strain as she resisted, holding open a space of infinite potential against their relentless drive for certainty. Then she did something unexpected. Instead of fighting back, she opened her mind completely. sharing not just humanity's capacity for generating new possibilities, but their ability to find patterns in chaos, to create meaning from complexity. Through their quantum connection, she showed the chronivores what they had never understood, that consciousness could do more than simply reduce possibility to certainty. She showed them human art, music, literature, the products of minds that delighted in creating new patterns without destroying the old ones. The pressure of their consciousness change shifted from hostile to curious. Maya felt their ancient awareness examining the patterns she shared, analyzing them with the same methodical intensity they had used to collapse quantum states. Pattrn, within chaos, they questioned. Meaning, without reducing. Yes, Maya projected, combining words with quantum patterns. Humanity doesn't just survive in uncertainty. We thrive in it. We create new patterns, new possibilities, without needing to destroy the old ones. Our consciousness evolved to generate complexity, not reduce it. She felt their vast intelligence considering this, processing it through patterns of probability that spanned galaxies. Then, slowly, their consciousness began to change. Where before they had sought only to collapse possibility into certainty, now they began to examine the patterns that emerged from quantum complexity itself. Through their connection, Maya sensed something profound. The chronivores weren't just learning about human consciousness. They were being changed by contact with it. Their rigid patterns of thought began to show new variations, tiny quantum fluctuations that suggested the beginning of a transformation. Adaptation, they communicated. Evolution of thoggt patterns. Ineguipoisability. The pressure against her quantum barrier disappeared. In its place, Maya felt something new emerging, a space where human and chronivore consciousness could coexist, each maintaining their own nature while learning from the other. What's happening? Lyra demanded, her crystalline form pulsing with confusion frequencies. The temporal attacks have ceased, but the quantum patterns are becoming more complex. Maya smiled, maintaining the connection while gradually reducing her consciousness expansion to sustainable levels. They're learning to appreciate complexity, she explained, and we're learning to find pattern in chaos. Two forms of consciousness, finding a way to evolve together. Through the quantum interface, she could see the changes spreading across probability space. Where the chronivores had created zones of collapsed possibility, new quantum patterns were emerging, not the rigid structures of pure order, nor the wild fluctuations of pure chaos, but something in between. A new kind of consciousness was being born in the quantum fabric of space-time itself. As the station's systems powered down and Maya's consciousness returned to normal scope, she understood that this wasn't just a victory. It was a transformation. Humanity had proven itself to be more than just another spacefaring species. They were quantum engineers of consciousness itself, capable of bridging the gap between order and chaos, between certainty and possibility. The quantum patterns are stabilizing. X9 reported, their cybernetic systems processing the new data. The chronivores appear to be evolving. Maya nodded, watching through her neural interface as new possibilities bloomed across the galaxy. They're not our enemies anymore, she said. They're our teachers, and we're theirs. Two different approaches to consciousness, learning to dance together in quantum space. The universe, she realized, was large enough for many kinds of minds. Humanity's gift wasn't just their ability to process quantum patterns or generate new possibilities. It was their ability to adapt, to find ways to cooperate with even the most alien forms of consciousness. As she looked out at the quantum probability field, now alive with new patterns of possibility, Maya wondered what other forms of consciousness might be waiting to be discovered. The galaxy was vast, and human potential was only beginning to be understood. The time war was over, but the real adventure, the exploration of consciousness itself, was just beginning.